Do 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 do. Heaven's just a sin away. Whoa, whoa, just a sin away. Can't wait another day. I think I'm giving it. How I'd love to hold you tight. Whoa, whoa, be with you tonight. That still won't make it right, 'cause I belong to her. Oh, way down deep inside, I know that it's so wrong. Your eyes keep tempting me, and I never was that strong. Whoa, whoa, devil's got me now. Whoa, whoa, gone and got me now. Can't fight him anyhow. I think he's gonna win. Heaven's just a sin away. Whoa, whoa, just a sin away. Can't wait another day. I think he's gonna win. Hey, Tubbies! Woo! It's Psychic Bob. It is so awesome to be with you guys. Oh my goodness. I tell you, you know, I have to have some fun. Y'all say you like it when I sing. I don't think I have that great a voice, but I'm trying, you know. My voice is a little raspy today, but I don't care. I'm going to sing anyways, because you know what? I love life. And, you know, gosh, we got a lot of people here. Yeah, I see Moonface in the chat. Kim Osborne's in the chat. Stranger Things 77's here. ALL's here. Carol Pettis, Lady Carol's here. Giancarlo, all the way from England. Jerry A is here. Jay Whippet's here. Moonface. Dojan Stezelica, all the way from Macedonia. Oh my gosh, we got a great turnout here. There's Jasper Zurlohe here. Excuse me if I'm butchering your name. David Jan's here, all the way from Israel. Moonface, yay, I'm so glad you're here. Whoa, Samantha Mulch is here. Hi, Samantha. Welcome to Spiritual. Amy Diana, I see her in the chat too. Amy Diana, all the way from Scotland. Gosh, we got people from all over the world here. Isn't this wonderful? Oh my gosh. I'm having so much fun today. You know, it's Friday. I think it's Friday. Isn't it Friday? I think it's Friday. My hair's getting long. I'm going to have to change my style, so I'm going to just chop it off myself. But anyways, a lot of you have been writing say you like my long hair, huh? Kim Osborne says, me too. Have to have my music while working. Well, you know, I was playing this song. I got to tell you about the song I'm singing. Kim, I so get it. I like to jam out before I do shows. It just gets my energy going and everything flowing for me, you know. Hey, Amy Diana. Amy says, how are you holding up, Bob? How's your mom? Hope you're well. Well, this is great. First of all, I'm doing great. Mom's great. We're all well. Everybody's happy. Thank you, Lord. Okay. Thank you, lady. So thank you for your question, Amy Diana. I hope things are going well there in Scotland for you and good old Edinburgh. I want to come over and see you. You and I got to go to Edinburgh Castle together. You know that? We'd have the best time. I'm telling you, we would. Well, I'm just glad you guys are here. Now, listen. So I got to tell you about this song before we get into everything today. But I was listening to this song. This is an old song from 1976, 77, somewhere in the 1970s. And it's by a group called the Kindalls. They were a country music group as a father and daughter. And they became famous for this song called Heaven's Just a Sin Away. And it's about somebody singing because they're trying to, you know, not give in to temptation to go have an affair with somebody. And it's like they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and, you know, they're trying not to go sin, as they say. And I just love this song. When I was a kid, hey, Reiki Reverend's here. Good to see you, Reiki Reverend. Yay, awesome, man. Good to see you. I've been wanting to call you. Life has been crazy, but it's good. I'm glad you're here. But, you know, when I was a kid, they would play this on the radio. My parents loved country music. And this song, I used to go around singing. It's like I'm like a 10-year-old kid, and I'm walking around going, heaven's just a sin away. I had no clue what that song was actually about. I didn't get that it was about, like, you know, adultery or whatever it is. It's kind of it's somebody called the best darn cheating song that ever was. But anyways, if you haven't heard it, go look it up. It's called the Kindalls. It's called Heaven's Just a Sin. In fact, I'll put it down in the chat here. The group's name is the Kindalls. And Jeannie Kendall is still doing this song. Her father unfortunately passed away a few years ago. Heavens just sin away. And it's a great song. That's what I was singing earlier. So if you just tuned in, you missed the first few minutes, you missed Psychic Bob singing. Not that you missed a lot. I mean, come on, you know. But if you want to see it, go back and play it later. Yeah. Well, Jay Whippet, don't take it that way. It's really just a song. You know, it's not like meant that they're singing about each other. So, you know. But anyway, she's singing about a guy that she loves. Her father's more of a backup vocal on that. They're not singing to each other. So it's a fun song. Anyways, yay, Reiki Reverend says, same, happy to hear from you. You look well. Hope you are keeping safe. Yes, Reiki Reverend, I'm doing well. Been a little crazy here for me. A lot of readings, which I love. You know, I love doing readings. I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing well. I'm safe. Luckily, no coronavirus. Knock on wood or bone or skin or whatever. Anyways, I'm glad to see you. I imagine you've been quite busy. You know, Reiki Reverend's been a guest here. We'll have to have him on soon because, you know, Reiki Reverend, it'd be interesting to hear from you. I'll have you on maybe next week. You could do that. We'll coordinate and we'll find out your perspective. I'd like to get your perspective on this time. Oh my gosh, Giancarlo just donated £5. Giancarlo, thank you so much. He's all the way from London. He said, your videos really brighten up my day. Keep being awesome. Giancarlo, thank you. Your kind support, your friendship, and you've been with me a long time, keeps me going as well. All of you here, are so many of you are regular, and I appreciate it. You know, I get up every day, and this is no joke. I literally get up every day, and I think about YouTube because my whole life revolves around YouTube. So many of you have touched my life in so many ways. And that's what I want to talk about today. Today, we're not actually going to do psychic readings. We'll do that on Sunday. All right. I know a lot of you want to read, but today, I promised you guys last week, some of those of you who are here may remember, I said, so many of you always want to know about my life, and you asked me during our messages video. And I said, you know what? I have to do a whole video just to answer questions about my life for you guys. So I thought that's what we would do today, is that I'm making myself available and you guys can, in a sense, interview me. You know, if you said, gee, I'd love to interview Psychic Bob, get some questions, learn about his soul journey, his life, all of that. You know, I would be honored to answer them for you today. So, you know, I tell people what you see is what you get. One of the things that people say when they meet me in person, you know, like a lot of times I'll get people see me in person in the street, or they'll be traveling and run into me in an airport or something. And they'll say, gosh, Psychic Bob, you're just like you are on television, or you're just like you are on YouTube. You really don't change, do you? And I said, no, I don't suddenly become Psychic Bob because the camera's on. I'm always Psychic Bob. Like, I don't put on an act. And I think this is, you know, maybe different than some YouTubers, because I have met some, well, I won't say who, but I've met some very prominent YouTubers in the past who came to visit me. And I'll tell you, when I met them in person, worlds of difference from how they are on YouTube or on television. And some of the celebrities I've met, TV and movie people, are that way as well. It's like, some of the people who are the most animated on camera, who really are great performers, in real life, some of them are very introvert. They don't like people. They don't talk to anybody. They have very different lives. And I think it's kind of sad, because one famous person who I can't say who, but there's one famous person who came to see me once for a reading. And I was so excited because I was a fan of this, I'll just say it's an actor. And this actor, he came to see me, very famous person. And when he came to my office to visit me, he was so withdrawn, so negative, so just flippant and rude. And I thought, well, maybe he's having a bad day, but I came to find out that's just his normal way of life. And it really shocked me, and it really disappointed me, because I thought, I don't know, I just think that we have an obligation, especially in the media world, to keep it real. You know, I think we need to keep it real. And I try to live my life authentically. you know. You know. So yeah, okay. I see you guys' question. I'll get to them in just a minute. Hold on. I don't forget you. Um, but you know, I'm about keeping it real. So the Psychic Bob you get on YouTube and on television is the same Psychic Bob that you're going to meet in person. I don't become Psychic Bob, which I can't say about a lot of celebrities. There's another celebrity that I met one time. I'm always meeting famous people and hanging out with them. It's funny how my life goes like that. But there's another big famous person who's a television star who I met one time. And when we were, you know, talking, he became very just rude and flippant to me. And I was really shocked. And I was being very nice to him. And I had been a fan of his. But, you know, you just have to let that go and move on with life, you know. There's a saying somebody once said, they said, you know, never meet your heroes because you may be disappointed. And I've met a few of my heroes, and I have, honestly, some, not all, but some of them been disappointed. You know, one of the most famous people that I met and associated and worked with was Ronald Reagan. Do you guys remember Ronald Reagan, the president of the United States? When I was in high school, I did volunteer work. I live in DC, and I got hired by the White House, and I used to go work with Ronald Reagan on the weekends. Isn't that interesting? A little bit of Psychic Bob trivia, maybe you didn't know. And I used to answer, well, I didn't answer, but I sorted his fan mail and prepared it for people who was his staff to answer it. And I used to get a lot of cool privileges. I guess to go to the White House. I had my own Secret Service bodyguards back then because when I was working, because I had close proximity to like the president's office and stuff, I actually had security detail. Isn't that interesting? So I know what it's like to have Secret Service agents. And, you know, so I would love for you to go into detail about that. Yeah, so let me finish. I'll tell you about that, Kim. So I got to tell you one of my most dramatic stories that happened at the White House is one time I was there and I was sorting mail for the president. And just so you know, a lot of people don't know this, but the mail before, well, back in the old days, this is before we had all the fancy scanners back in the 80s. Mail would go through a machine that would x-ray it and it would open it automatically. And they would pick up if there was something in the envelopes and it'd be sorted out by the Secret Service and looked at. Well, somehow an envelope went through the sorting machine that had never got checked. Well, it arrived on my desk, and when I opened it, it was a letter to Ronald Reagan. I realized it hadn't been slit open, but I didn't think anything because I was like, 16, 17 at the time. I thought, oh, just letter, no big deal. This is in the days before we had terrorism. And I opened the letter, and a white powder just flew all over my body. It was all over my clothes. I wasn't aware of that. What is that? I thought it was just like flour or, yeah, Apple Goblin says Ronald Reagan was not a fan of the Soviet Union. Yeah, I lived during the Cold War years, and I wasn't a fan of the Soviet Union either. But so this powder went all over my clothes. And, I was just brushing. I wasn't thinking anything about it. Well, all of a sudden, one of my Secret Service bodyguards runs over. He said, "You need to come with us right now." I was like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's just a little flour." And they literally took me down to this, I didn't even know, there's these secret places all over the White House area, down to this basement area. And they threw me in the shower. They made me strip on my clothes and they sprayed me down with this like soap, and there might be a chemical in it, I don't know, but this substance. And my whole body was washed down. They took my clothes away. And I said, well, wait, I need my clothes. And they brought me like extra clothes to wear. And I was wearing this, like, it was funny, they had an extra suit. And it almost fit me. It was kind of, so they dressed me in a suit. I'll never forget this. And I said, well, where's my clothes? Why are you taking my clothes? And they said, well, we have to take them to a lab. You may have been exposed to poison. I was like, what? I didn't have it in my mind that stuff like that could happen. And this was in the days before we knew what anthrax was. And anyway, so I didn't perceive any threat. But really nowadays I look back on that and I said, dear God, that was that was really scary. You know, that was really kind of like, wow. But they didn't tell me how much danger. They just said it could be poison, which it ended up being. It ended up being talcum powder and some other thing, but it was nothing poisonous. Might have been starch and talcum powder. I'm trying to remember what it was in the envelope. But boy, you should have seen the Secret Service agents. They were flipping out on me. Like, you got to come right away. I said, oh, it's not. And I was sitting there going, it's no big deal. And they literally grabbed me and took me to this shower place. You know, so interesting. Anthrax. What is anthrax? Yeah, anthrax is a biohazard, a toxin. It's a deadly bacteria that can survive in powdered form. It dries out, it forms a powder, but then exposed to your bloodstream, it comes back to life and will kill you. That's what I mean. I may not have the exact definition, but yeah, anthrax looks like a white powder. And so many terrorists in the last few years, like years ago, people were putting anthrax in letters and mailing it to government officials to try to kill them. And a tiny little, just a speck of anthrax can kill you within like 5 minutes. It's deadly, deadly, deadly stuff. But anyway, so yeah, when I was working for Ronald Reagan, they thought it was, they didn't tell me at the time it was anthrax. And I think even later on, they said it could have been poison, could have been, they named a bunch of things that I didn't know what any was. And I think anthrax at the time was in that list. But this was in the days where the average public even heard of it. Anyway, so there's a little background trivia about Psychic Bob. I thought you'd like to see that. I used to go to White House parties at Christmas time. And I would talk to Ronald Reagan on the phone. He would call and talk to us, you know, and thank us for our work. And sometimes what he'd do is if we were having a really busy day, he would send down to our office gifts from him. I actually have, I have to find it. They might be at my mom's, but I actually have original signed photos from Ronald Reagan that he gave me. So it's kind of cool, you know. So anyways, yeah, you know, that's one of my first famous people encounters. I met Prince Charles and Princess Diana back in the 80s also. And let's see. Oh, I hung out, I might have told some of you this. I hung out with Cyndi Lauper. You know who Cyndi Lauper is? The famous singer, musician from the 80s. I was on a plane. I got to tell you this story too, since we're talking. You want to learn about my life? I'm gonna talk about Psychic Bob today. So anyways, so one time I was on a plane going to England. This was in the 1980s. And I was literally sitting over the wing. And it was kind of cool because as we were starting to taxi down the runway, I said, this is cool. I can watch the wing flaps. And I thought it was kind of cool, you know. Oops, hold on a second. I guess the comments here. I'll tell you the story. I want to read a comment here. What was that? Life is for living. Reagan knew a hell of a lot about UFOs and alien contact. Yes, he did. He didn't tell me about that, but he did, you know. Christine C. says, Ronald Reagan was a sweetheart. Let me tell you, Ronald Reagan, I'm not trying to be political here, whether you liked him or hate him as a president. As a person, forget politics, he was an amazing person. And I still grieve his death. I think we need a new Ronald Reagan. He did a lot of good for the country, in my personal opinion, okay? Amy 2570 says, you've had an interesting life. I have. That's why I want to share it with you, because you know, I want to tell you guys, you don't have to sit around and just listen to Psychic Bob's life. Go out and make life happen. You know, I just decided to get up and start living life one day, and my life happened, you know. So many of us, and myself included, we get sidewinded and we just get in our depression. We never do anything. I say live life, take some risks, you know. Christine C. says, when my children were young, I would play all of Reagan's speeches in the car. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's really great. So, anyways, so I got to tell you about Cyndi Lauper. Okay, so Christine C., I'll get to that. Cyndi Lauper. So anyways, I was on this plane going to England at the time. I had a British girlfriend. And I was sitting over the wing, and as we're taking off down the runway, I see all this, what I thought was water going across the wing. And I thought, oh, isn't that amazing? They rinse the airplane wings on takeoff. I didn't know that. Well, I commented to somebody sitting next to me, I said, look at that, they're washing the wing. Isn't that neat? That person's looking out the window and they're like, oh, their eyes got really big. And I was like, what? They're like, that's not normal. That's not supposed to. I said, yeah, that's normal. I'm sure it's no big deal. All of a sudden, the plane, all the power shuts off. The fuel line in the wing ruptured on takeoff. Now, had we taken off, we would have ended up crashing and everybody dying. So I was that close on a plane to death. But what was interesting is we couldn't start the plane because the fuel was leaking. They thought there would be an explosion. And so they didn't even want to open the door because they thought any electrical mechanism could spark the plane to explode. And so the captain actually told us this. This is what's amazing. I don't think today they would tell you that. But back then they were kind of more honest about stuff. Instead, the captain said, we're worried about an explosion. I remember this. But you know what? It's when you're young. You know, I was like in my 20s. And when you're young, you don't really have a fear of as much. I don't know. I didn't freak out. And so I was stuck on this plane with no air conditioning or airflow for 2 hours. So I got restless and I got up to walk around, you know, and go to the bathroom. And then I thought, I'm just going to walk up and see what's going on in first class. I never had flown in first class. And I thought, maybe there's empty seat and I'll just chill out in the first class. I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun, something to try, right? So I go up into first class and, you know, tell you in the old days, I don't know what it's like today, but back then, first class really was first class. Big, luxurious leather lounge seats and bar. And it was fancy. Well, I turn around and I see a beautiful girl who is like coolly colored hair sitting just by herself, just looking bored. And I turned to her and I thought, gosh, she looks just like Cyndi Lauper. But I mean, you don't really believe it's going to be Cyndi Lauper, right? So I looked at her, I said, you're on your way to London too? She said, yeah. She said, I'm supposed to do a concert. I don't think I'm going to make it now because this delay. She said, I'm cutting everything close. I said, concert? I said, you're not actually, because I mean, I didn't believe it was her. I said, you're not Cyndi Lauper. She said, yeah, I'm Cyndi Lauper. I said, oh my God. I said, I can't believe that. So I literally, there's nobody around. There was like one other person in first class and her. I just sat down and hung out with her for like an hour. And we just sat there and talked and, you know, had drinks together. And it was just really cool. I'll never forget it. And yeah, so that's one time I met another famous person. I hung out with Cyndi Lauper. We finally got the plane going. We had to switch. And she ended up taking, I think, a private jet or something. Well, you know, she's a famous star. But I had to wait another like 2 hours. That was the time I got to England. It was all messed up. But anyways, yeah, so I hung out with Cyndi Lauper. Anyway, so, okay, here's a good question. All right. You said, Bob, when you were young, you think dying is something other is dying something other people have happen. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, what happened is you're talking about being a psychic. When I was young, I used to get death prophecies all the time about people. And, you know, I was a kid, like 7 years old. I'd look out the window and see a neighbor go by. Like, there's Mr. Jones driving by in his car. And I would get premonitions about Mr. Jones. I thought, oh, Mr. Jones is going to die. And then this one time, one of the neighbors drove by and I thought, oh, he's going to die tomorrow. Well, the neighbor actually died. And I felt horrible because I thought I killed them. I thought, my God, I killed them. Because as a child, you can't reason things. And in my mind, I thought it, therefore it happened. And that's why when I was younger, being psychic was not really a pleasant experience. It was very scary for me. And it wasn't until I was a teenager that I dared to kind of really risk that again. So yeah, that's what I meant when I was younger. I thought that I knew about people dying. So yeah, good question. I hope that answers that. A friend of mine did some work for Dolly Parton and said that she was just as sweet as she could be. Kim Lackey, that's a great thing. That reminds me, I got to tell you, we may have a connection, Kim. I had an older brother. This is back in the 70s. I had an older brother who was dating at the time Dolly Parton's tour manager's daughter. Okay, so Dolly Parton, the famous actor, famous singer and actress, had a tour manager who managed her shows in the 70s. His daughter dated my brother. And I got to meet Dolly Parton. I forgot about that. When I was a kid, I met Dolly Parton as well. And we got invited to her concert. We had front row seats. And after the show, I got to meet her. And I also met, I think it was June Carter Cash, if you guys know who she was, country singer. And I met Dolly Parton back in the 70s. I forgot about that. Thank you for saying this. So I'm curious who your friend was. You know, we may have some connections of people we know. Very cool, kid. Thank you. So yeah, tell me about that. Hey, Simba's here all the way from Germany. Good to see you, Simba. Welcome. David Jan, good question. David Jan's question: what are your most interesting past lives? Oh my gosh, David Jan. Well, one of my past lives was in, I know that I lived during the 1900s, 1920s, 30s, the Art Deco era. I lived during that time. I have vivid memories of Art Deco style. I remember as a kid when I used to see, like, do you know what Art Deco? It's like 1920s style. It's very kind of angular, geometric. When I saw Art Deco, like furniture or buildings or anything or architecture, I was obsessed with it. And I saw it and knew that I had been there before. I just knew about it. So that was one of my past lives. I also had another past life where I was a Rosicrucian in the 14 or 1500s. And I actually went to a past life person. And I knew this. I had visions of it. And I went to see a psychic one time. And the psychic was an artist and drew pictures of past lives. And the artist drew me as a Rosicrucian. And she didn't know me, never heard it. I hadn't told anybody. And she's like, you are connected to the Rosicrucian order. When she started the reading, she said, you have a connection to like monks, like a mystical order of monks. But she said, but they're not monks like Catholic monks. They're like outside of the Catholic Church, but they're mystics. And I actually knew what she said. And I said, yeah, I know that. And she said, it's almost like Rosicrucians. And I said, yes. So the Rosicrucians used to be a mystic order, kind of like monks. They wore robes. They still wear robes today. And, you know, kind of like Wiccan coven, while Rosicrucian order was similar back then. So, yeah, those are two of my former past lives. So I lived in the 20s in the Art Deco era, and I was also a Rosicrucian in the 1500s. So those are ones that have always fascinated me. Thank you for your question. That's really good. Hold on, I got to put on my glasses. I can't see the chat here. Hey, Lady G, good to see you. Kim Osborne says, when Dolly did a memorial at Dollywood for Minnie Pearl, got to see Dolly. How cool, Kim. I love Dolly Parton. She's really a great person. She's one of these people who in person is exactly the same as you see on TV. She doesn't put on being Dolly. She's always Dolly, you know. Francis Lloyd and Ecknell, are you in love with someone? No, Psychic Bob is a bachelor, single. I'm not in love with anybody. Right now, I'm at a point in my life where I'm single and alone, and I'm not lonely. I have a very rich life. Despite all my struggles the last years, I'm at peace with myself. And I really don't feel that I can be in a relationship, because I think to bring somebody into my situation would be a very bad situation. Not to be dramatic, but I have been targeted for assassination by the government and organized crime. So I'm not getting involved with him, because if you're a targeted individual and you do get into a relationship, that person will be targeted and ultimately destroyed. And for those of you who've been with me over this journey, you know that is, well, I haven't even told you all of it. It's very horrible. But I don't want to focus on all that. But right now, I'm not in love with anybody. I guess I could say I'm in love with like a movie star. You know, some movie stars are beautiful. I think they're beautiful. You know, when I was younger, like when I was like in my teen years, I was crazy about Brooke Shields. I had the biggest crush on Brooke Shields. You know, the actress. I just think she's so beautiful. Anyways, I still think she's beautiful, but I used to love Brooke Shields. And I guess I could be accused of having a little crush on Lady Gaga. I just think she's hot. I just love Lady Gaga. Anyway, so, and I love her music, but she's hot too. So I think Lady Gaga's sweet. So that's who I'm in love with. All right. So, anyways, good question. All right. Oops, hold on a second. Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to ignore your questions. This chat's flying by. Shannon Nicole, what events led up to you realizing you were being targeted, and how old were you? That's a really long story, but in a nutshell, it officially started 7 years ago when I was, well, I guess I was 45. I'm 52 now, to give you guys my age. You know, a lot of people don't tell their age, you know. I'm vain in the sense that I don't want to look 52, but I don't mind people knowing I'm 52. It's kind of public knowledge. So, you know, I don't know why movie stars and stuff always lie about their ages. It's like everybody's going to know, you know. People who know you know what your age is. You can't ever keep it secret. So I'm 52, but it was when I was 45 that the targeting started. And it started by literally one day being followed by federal agents. Like, because I had worked, remember when I told you I worked for the White House, I know what Secret Service detail is like, and I know how security works. And I started being followed, but I thought it was my own Secret Service detail again. But this time they weren't being friendly or protective. They were coming to harass me. And the good thing is that I know I didn't imagine, because I have witnesses who were there and saw it and even said, "You're being followed by federal agents. What the hell is going on?" And I didn't know, honestly, what was going on. I didn't even know there was such a thing as targeting back then. So I slowly learned over that year what, oops, hold on. I got to turn my phone off here, guys. Hold on a second. Isn't it interesting? And I don't even know who this is. An unknown number calls when I'm talking about targeting. But anyway, so it's been going on for 7 years. Now, that's that I know of. Many TIs say, TI is the term for targeted individual, believe that it goes on actually even a few years before that. So if I actually look back, it may have been going on even 3 or 4 years before it officially started. So, but that I know of and was directly told it started in 2013. And I know that I didn't imagine, because I was also arrested by the government. Anyways, I don't want to get on to all that, but hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Hi, Amanda K. Amanda K says, "Bob, any messages for me regarding a past life?" Amanda K, I got to tell you today, I'm not doing private readings. Today is a Q&A, because a lot of people have been asking me to answer questions about my life. So I will do your question. If you can be here on Sunday, we'll look into that. I'm not doing private sessions today, though. But, you know, but if you want to ask me a question about my journey, I'd be happy to answer it, okay? So yeah, so that's the Q&A today. It's for y'all to get to know Psychic Bob, okay? Thank you so much. The Seeking One. Hey, Psychic Bob, how are you? I'm doing really great today, Seeking One. And I'm glad you're here. Welcome. If you have a question, let me know. All right. Giancarlo, in your videos, we see you enjoying lots of yummy food at restaurants, but what do you enjoy cooking at home? What is your best dish to cook? Giancarlo, Psychic Bob's really good at making tea and making toast. I'm not really a cook, honestly. I eat out a lot. I don't really enjoy being in the kitchen. It just overwhelms me. I make simple things. I make soups. I can fry a hamburger. I can cook hot dogs. I make macaroni and cheese. I make salad. But I'm not really a big fan of cooking. I don't ever invite people over and prepare dinner for them. If people want to come to my house, I have dinner catered, actually. And I used to do that at the office. Sometimes I would have television producers and stuff coming. Back years ago when I was getting a lot of media work, I had to entertain a lot of media people. And I had an office. Some of you have been with me several years. You know about my office. I haven't had it for a few years now, but when I had my office, I had beautiful conference room and dining rooms. And so I would hire catering companies come in and prepare lunch for the visiting guests. So that's how I got around cooking. But anyways, yeah, so simple things. Keep it simple. That's all I cook. All right. Yay. Hi, Cringeosaurus. Welcome. Good to see you. Reiki Reverend says, what experiences do you feel was the most pivotal in helping you fully accept your gifts as they were? Reiki Reverend, that's a really good question. I think it was when I was about 15. Well, actually, I'd have to answer that in two phases. Let me put it that way. I got over a lot of my fear when I was 15 because I started doing haunted house investigations. And the event that really got me aware of my ability to a degree that it was and to let go of my fear was there were friends of my mom's who had a haunted house. And I went to visit the house because they knew that I was into spiritual stuff. And they called my mom because this family was really traumatized. And they said, do you think your son Bob could come and help us? And I was like 15. I had no training or experience, but mom said, yeah, we'll see if he wants to do it. So I said, do you want to go to these people's houses and visit them, see if there's a ghost there? I said, sure. And I went into the house. I ended up staying for like a week or a weekend at the house, 3 or 4 days. And I observed actual phenomena. And I was able to pinpoint what spirit activity was occurring in what locations. When I first got to the house, I went through and I told them where I was picking up energy. And they confirmed that that was accurate. And over the next few days, I actually witnessed paranormal phenomena. And that was what really started me working as a psychic, because they told people who told people. And in the early days when I was in high school, I just did haunted house investigation. I wasn't doing readings really so much then. But people during that time would say, while you're here, can you tell me about my husband's job? And suddenly, because I'd been channeling spirit energy, the knowledge was just there and I knew stuff. So I started kind of doing mini readings as part of house investigations. So that's probably what helped me to start to accept it. And then when I was in my 20s, I joined the spiritualist church, and I was actually trained then, even though up till then I hadn't any training. I was just doing psychic work on my own. But the spiritualist movement then gave me a skill set to work with and an ability to understand how it works, so not to be afraid. Because my teacher who trained me was actually a therapist, psychic. She was a psychologist as well as a psychic herself. And so she did sessions with me to help me release a lot of that fear and false concepts that I had, and ways of thinking things. So that would be my second pivotal point. So I actually kind of have two that really helped me get going. So anyways, that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. I hope that answers it for you. All right, so Apple Goblin, are you a typical Aquarius? What are your ascendant and moon signs? I don't think there is such a thing as a typical Aquarius. I definitely say I have a lot of the traits of Aquarians in terms of communication. The Aquarians are known to love to talk to the whole world. We're really good at speaking to the world. A lot of Aquarians, they say, are challenged in personal relationships one-on-one, that the challenge is that they want to be more introvert and not express as much one-on-one. I think there are times in my life where that was true. I don't think that's true now about me. My ascendant sign is, I think it's Virgo, or is that my moon sign? I'm blanking out. I got to find my chart. I haven't read my chart in years. Isn't that embarrassing? No, wait, I think my moon sign's Virgo and my ascendant is Leo. I always get them crisscrossed. I get them confused. So I have to look that up. I should know that, shouldn't I? But anyways, it's Virgo and Leo, and I can't remember which one's which. I think moon is Virgo and ascendant is Leo. But if I'm wrong, I'll look it up. Anyways, yeah, it's good. We'll answer that next week on our horoscopes. I'll find that out and let you know. Okay. Yay. Davy Jan, I like your question. What are your most memorable readings? I think probably one of my most memorable readings was for Shirley MacLaine, the famous actress. Yeah, I did readings for her several years ago. So I think meeting, that's another famous one. You know, I told you I'm always with famous people. And it's funny, you know, how that is. This is like, I guess it's part of my karma. But I think meeting Shirley MacLaine, reading for her, was a very memorable experience. Another reading that was very memorable for me was, well, I'll tell you one. There was a lady that came to see me one time, and it was very interesting. She was a very high-powered attorney. And this is somebody, I mean, she literally pulls up into my office in her Rolls Royce, you know, parked out front. Comes into my house. She's wearing her Chanel suit, $20,000. Very wealthy, very powerful person. And she sits down in my chair and I start talking to her. I said, you know, I pick up that there's an issue around a business merger. You're going to acquire another law firm. And I said, it's going to be the month of October. And I said, you're going to make, you know, several $1,000,000. And she said, oh, that's amazingly accurate. Gosh, wow, that's really good. I said, does that make sense? She said, yep, you're right on. I said, okay, well, let me tell you what else. And while I'm talking to her about business, my spirit guide Fletcher says, he said, now you need to tell her why she's really here. And I'm like thinking in my mind, what are you talking about, Fletcher? I know what she's here for. Fletcher said she's here because she has unresolved trauma. She's been abducted by aliens, and you need to confront that issue with her. And I thought, this is one of these ladies. She was so straight and narrow and so hyper business focused. This is not somebody who you would dare even say the word alien to. Because, like, this is somebody who you would have thought, if there were such a thing as aliens, she wouldn't believe in them. And I wasn't picking that up around her. But my spirit guy kept nudging me. He's like, you have to tell her that's what she needs. And I thought, oh my God. Well, I remember during that reading what my teacher always told me. And my psyche teacher said, Bob, whenever you do a reading, listen to the spirits. They know more than you. Just get out of the way. So I thought, okay, I'm going to risk it. So after I finished this discussion about her buying of the law firm, I took a deep breath. I thought, this is the end of my psychic career, because this lady was so powerful. If she got pissed off with me, she could have taken me to court and wiped me out in 5 seconds. And she had the money and the power to do it. And I said, well, I have another issue I want to talk with you about. She said, what? I said, and I literally took a breath on it. I was like, it's about your alien abduction. And I see the look on her face, totally stone cold, staring me down. I thought, oh dear. And she says, yes, like you're crazy, right? I said, well, I'm picking up that since you were a child, you've had an encounter with aliens. And I said, I believe there was a younger sister as well. And both of you were taken as children, and it's recurred throughout your life, even as recently as a month ago. And she sits there, her eyes give, and she's staring at me, thinking, oh God, I have ruined my career. Just pack it up and go home, Bob. She just suddenly tears start coming down her face. She said, you're the only psychic who's been able to tell me the truth. I know it, and I don't tell anybody. She said, most people don't believe me. And she said, no psychics picked it up before. And she said, I'm so glad. And she sat there. We spent like another hour. I think I gave her a full hour just to deal with that. And she was crying. It was very dramatic and emotional. And that was one of my most favorite readings, you know. That, talking to Shirley MacLaine, and, well, there's so many. I'm going to actually write a book about my readings, because I think that it would help a lot of people to understand kind of, you know, what it's like to be a psychic. Anyways, I hope that helps, you know. Okay. Oops, hold on. I just hit the button. Let me try to get your questions back, guys. Hold on. All right. Oh, okay. Reiki Reverend, are you taking off? Have a great day, Bob. Thank you for sharing your space with us. Good to see you. Listen, I'll call you this week. We got to coordinate you coming on, okay? Blessings to you. Thomas, you're also an Aquarius. Wonderful. Thomas Smith says, how do you receive messages from spirit so quickly? Thomas, that's a really good question. Honestly, I think it comes from a few things. One, I was trained in the spiritualist church where I used to go. My teacher kind of taught me, like when I would do readings, she'd say, pick up your pace, give me more. And also when I was younger, some of you may know, I used to love theater. And when I was in high school, I had a wonderful drama teacher who affected my whole life. And I stayed friends with her all the way to her death a few years ago, named Rusty. And Rusty used to say to me, when you come on stage, you can't just blank out. You have to keep talking no matter what. Even if you don't know what you're saying, your training should allow you to at least halfway get your script right. So she used to teach me how to talk, and how to pick up, my words quickly. And then when I was in the spiritual church, it was similar because we had to go up on a stage to do readings. I used to do readings in front of hundreds of people in an audience. And so I had to get used to receiving and relaying messages really quickly. And so I think part of it is training. I also think that because I'm comfortable with it now and I don't have a fear of it, I don't block it. And that allows it to come more quickly. And I think for a lot of psychics, there's a fear factor. I just don't fear because I trust the spirit people. And that makes it easier for me. Anyways, that's a good question. I hope that helps. Yes. All right. Hold on a second. Oh, Carolina R is also an Aquarius. Isn't that wonderful? Yay. All right. Carol Pettis, Lady Carol. Hi, Lady Carol. When did you meet Kelly in the Raw? I think I met Kelly in the Raw about probably 3 or 4 years ago now. It's hard to believe. 2, 3, yeah, maybe 3 years ago now. It's weird where the time is. I met her through Rob and Kalina Gautier. Rob Gautier, who you'll see him featured on the front page of my channel as a featured show, is a wonderful trance channel. Very few psychics get my endorsement, but Rob is one of them. And he and his wife, Kalina, I can say her name, Kalina, invited me to be on a special show called a channel panel a few years ago. And it was while on the channel panel that I met Kelly Coffey. And it's really cool because I had been a fan of Kelly Coffey. So I was so excited to meet her. And what's ironic is she had been a fan of me. And we ended up meeting each other backstage and didn't even know that we knew the other. Like, she's like, you're Psychic Bob. They told me I was meeting somebody, but I said, you know who I am? She said, oh yeah, I watch you. I just didn't know that I was going to get to meet you. This is so cool. I was like, oh my gosh. So that's how we met. It was through Rob Gautier and Kalina Angels that we met. So yeah, all right. And I love Kelly Coffey too. She's wonderful. She and I are talking about, we got to coordinate in our show. It's been a while since we've done something together. All right. Kim Lackey, Bob, have you always known your biological family, or did you meet them at a later time? That's a really good question. Yeah, for those of you who may not know, I was adopted. My mom that you see in all my videos is my adoptive mother. She adopted me when I was a kid, about like 6 months old. So I always grew up with her as my mom. I always knew that I was adopted. It was never kept from me. So I didn't have that life crisis that some adoptive people go through. It's like always a knowledge for me. But I had such a happy life, I never sought it out. I didn't meet my biological family till I was 25 years old. And they found me. It's a long story, which I won't go into now. But at the time of the meeting, I met my birth mother. My birth father was deceased. And then I met my brother also, who you guys got to meet. You've seen him here on the show. And I also have a sister that I met. So yes, I met all of them. And then I met all my cousins and my aunts and uncles. And it was really fascinating because I'll tell you, it was the first time in my life of having experience of being in a room where there actually people look like me. And really fascinating stuff. And it was through meeting my biological family. I did meet some of my father's family as well, some great aunts and some cousins and uncles and aunts on my father's side. And it was very interesting because my father's family is where I found out that I'm related to the Duchess of Windsor. She's one of my cousins. You may know Duchess of Windsor. If you don't know, look her up. She's a former member of the royal family, kind of an exiled member, but nonetheless a member of the British royal family. She's like my second cousin. So yeah, my father's family, and I won't go into all detail. I met them, and it's very interesting because my mother and father came from different worlds, and that created a lot of problems in their lives. My father's family were very wealthy, prominent people, very high society. We were one of the founding families of Alexandria, Virginia, where I live. My family actually has, I have to take you down and show you one of their mansions down there that's now a museum, but my family owned it. And then my family also was one that helped found Baltimore, the city of Baltimore. So it's very interesting because when I met my father's family, I didn't realize really how famous and prominent they were. So I come from a background that's actually quite fascinating. You know, I don't have any money. By the way, Psychic Bob did not inherit any money. All of my money was lost. When I was a child, though, I was actually a multimillionaire. And that's not a lie. But since then, all the money was taken. That's a whole nother story. But no, I don't have any money. So don't say, oh, we're going to hit up Psychic Bob for all my money from my youth is gone through machinations of legal teams. That's a whole nother story. But anyways. So a little bit about my biological family. Yeah. Yay. Okay. All right. So here's a good question. Oops. Oh, here's Vivian Clark. Sir. Hey, Vivian. She says, Psychic Bob, what is your favorite food? Gosh, I'm almost scared to say it because, you know, if I tell people what I eat, the PETA people try to shut down my channel. Should I be politically correct or honest? Well, when I was younger, and it's still one of my favorite, I have a few different favorite foods. I can't narrow it down to one. When I was a kid, I loved Southern fried chicken. You know, I'm in Virginia. We're a Southern state. Southern fried chicken. If you've ever had real fried chicken, the way Southerners make it, that's a treat. So I still love Southern fried chicken. But you didn't hear it here because PETA will come after me. My other favorite food is Indian food. Indian food is just, well, I know I've had past life in India. You know, once I ate Indian food, it confirmed it. But Indian food is probably my second favorite food. Fried chicken, I love, and I like Indian food. Yeah. That's a good question. Indian food, well, that could be a lot of things. I love curry chicken. I love dal. I love anything Indian. All right. All right. David Jan, can you tell us about your spiritual encounters or channelings? You know, I've had a lot of encounters, but one of my most fascinating ones was I was working on a TV show for Sci-Fi Channel. It didn't get picked up, it got dropped, but at one time I was going to be on a major network TV show. And we were doing a haunted investigation of a haunted psychiatric hospital. And had this weird phenomenon of orbs. Like literally I saw an orb float right, like three-dimensional. I could walk around all sides of it. But the funny thing is, and I had a witness to this, when I would take my camera to film the orb, and I had my live, you know, video cam, the orb would not show up on camera. I could reach my hand out, put it under the orb would be above my hand. When I'd photograph my hand, it wouldn't show an orb. So that was really strange because what we discovered is that we think that there was some sort of spiritual nexus point where it was like two dimensions are crossing. And because we were spiritual beings, we could perceive it, but mechanical equipment could not perceive it. That's one of the encounters I'll never forget. And then at the same hospital, I spoke to a boy who had been a trauma victim who died at the hospital. And they called him Sparky because they said when he wanted to speak to people, he would show up as a blue spark and fly around the room. Well, I didn't really believe that because a lot of these hauntings places, they tell you stuff, but you never see it. But I actually was there, and they have it on camera, where I was sitting in the room, and I said, I feel his presence. And I started talking to, we called him Sparky. I said, Sparky, I'm Bob. Will you talk to me? And literally, they got on film. This spark comes down from the ceiling, floats right in front of me, and then goes back across the room and up the ceiling and disappears. And it was a bright, like bright, illuminated the room. That was an amazing spiritual encounter. Yeah. And then there was one other where I was at a seance that I was doing. A lady hired me to do a seance. In the early days, I used to go to people's houses for seances. And we were at this lady's house, and I literally, and this is not a lie, got a full body materialization. A man in full 3D materialized to everybody. The whole group could see him, and he walked around the room. It was like they're as solid as you and I. And then he disappeared like smoke. That was an experience. That'll also be in my book in greater detail. That's just the short version. But anyway, so there's some of my experience. I could talk all day on that, but there you go. I hope that gives you some insight. Sherry Draz, good question. Sherry says, how do you handle an unpleasant message from the other world? What if there's anger between the two parties? Just asking. That's a really good question, Sherry. Well, what I do is I have a deal with my spirit guides, with Fletcher and my other guides, that if a spirit is going to come through who is going to be damaging to the client, or to such a degree that it's going to actually hurt them rather than healing them, I don't get the message. It just doesn't even come through. But when they let a message through there are times where it is still unpleasant and it's not really received well, I deliver it anyways, because we as psychics never know down the road how that may help facilitate healing. And what I generally find is when people are resistant at first, like I had a lady I read for one time, and her father came through, and her father had been an abusive drunk who beat her, beat the mother, beat everybody, smashed up the house. And he came through, and I picked up all of his baggage, and he told me, he said, I don't, in the spirits of me, I don't want to interrupt, but if she's open to it, I'd like to say something. So I brought it to her, and I said, I'm picking up a message here. I've got literally your dad in the room, but he doesn't want to upset you. And I said, do you want to receive a message from him? And she said, she didn't like that. She said, I'm going to have to think about that. So you're just going to have to keep him waiting. I said, I respect that. And so I said to the father, I said, Father, you heard her. She's not ready. So we're going to let you sit back there, and maybe later she's going to think about it. And that's what I did. Now, towards the end of the reading, she said, you know what? I think I'll let him say something. And I let him come through. And the words he brought were ended up being very healing for her, and brought messages for her mom and for some other family. So it ended up being a good situation, but I generally let the client decide if they want to receive it. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you so much. All right, next question. Eric Ferguson. Your view on opening third eye or any psychic ability. Seeing many say to avoid certain foods and other things, but I see you eat whatever you want and do just fine. That's a good question, Eric. In terms of opening the third eye, let me tell you one thing. Not every psychic's power center's in the third eye. Okay, now when I started out as a psychic, I used to try to force imagery through my third eye. And my teacher who trained me said, your power is not your third eye, yours is in your throat. I said, what do you mean? She said, you have a communicator life theme. So she said, that's where your power comes from, your ability to speak, communicate, talk with spirit. And she said, do you know that each of the energy centers in the body, the chakras, have all the senses within them? So she said, I want you to try to go to your throat and open that, and then see if you get a vision. And when I started doing that through the throat chakra, using it as my seeing point, my readings got even better. So knowing where your power point is essential. Now, in you, it is the third eye. So knowing that is helpful. In readings, sometimes I'll figure out if there's a block of energy with people or where their power center are. So that's one of the things I do in readings. And knowing that is helpful to spiritual progress. Now, in terms of diet and food, I always say, I'm not knocking people who do special diets. I just say for me, none of it really made a difference. And maybe that's just me. You know, I don't like to put that out to everybody. Say you can't. Because I've had psychics say, well, you need to quit out all sugar. You need to quit out all meat. You need to do this. And I tried it. I honestly tried all of it. It never made a difference for my abilities. So I just eat what I want because I actually believe in moderation. I think the Buddha was right when he said, choose the middle way. And so that's what I do. I choose the middle path. I don't do extremes on anything. Okay. Yay. Okay. Oops, hold on a second. Moon Fae, which goddess and god are you most connected to? I'm connected to the goddess Isis and also Virgin Mary. I think Mary is the goddess, but I think Isis and Mary are really one and the same ultimately. So, but for now, I'd say Isis and Mary. In terms of God, I love Lord Dionysus. And I have a life-size statue. Some of you may have seen it. That's Lord Dionysus. I'm connected to him. I also love Thor as well. So those are the gods and goddesses I love the most. Good question. Divine Caitlin says, Bob, what's your indulgence dessert? Why? What's your indulgence dessert-wise, say Bob? Anything chocolate. Chocolate cake, chocolate mousse, chocolate pudding. That's my indulgence. And I know I do a little indulging, looking at my stomach. All right, good question. Wonderful. Kim Osborne, how did you get past your fear of being a psychic medium and religious world is telling you you're going to hell? You know, Kim, that's a really good question because I get that a lot from a lot of people who are opening up psychically because a lot of people come from backgrounds where they're threatened with hell. I guess it just comes down to, well, it comes down to a few things. I'm fortunate enough that I've had a near-death experience, which that'll have to probably be a whole video. But I died in a car accident several years ago. And when I met God, I was loved, absolutely loved. And I kept thinking, you know, in your mind, you think, oh, I've done this sin, I did that sin. How could God love me? But it doesn't matter. We're not here. See, there's a lot of false teaching. A lot of churches are teaching people you're evil, you're sinful, God rejects you. I never had that feeling. Growing up, I always felt I was loved by God. And I guess to kind of break it down, they're kind of, again, my life's never one thing. It's like phases. So when I was a young kid, I had a vision of God talking to me literally. And he told me I was loved and that he would always be part of my world. So I always felt this love of God. So when I started getting, you know, when you get older, you start exploring churches and stuff. And I would go to these churches and hear them say, you're a hellbound sinner. God's going to punish you. I thought, really? I just don't feel that. I never felt this enemyship with God. And they just started to say, you're disconnected from God. You have to be right with God. I just never felt it. So I just assumed that God and I are good. And then when I had my near-death experience, I was in my 20s when that happened. I realized God and I were good. And then, you know, when we talk about the psychic stuff, how does that integrate? Well, the church I got trained in told me God loves me just the way I am, and then I'm okay. And the spiritualist church says that God is not some man waiting to throw lightning bolts. He has infinite intelligence. And I can relate to a God that is infinite intelligence because that means he has wisdom and abundance, compassion. I've never related to the judgment of God. You know, Sylvia Browne also was an influence on me as well. And Sylvia Browne used to say, she said, you know, we can't have it both ways. Either God is going to burn everybody and destroy everything, or God truly loves you. It's not both. And I think that's true. I think Sylvia hit on it. Sylvia Browne. She said, God is a God of love. And she said, used to say, I believe in a God of love. That's what I choose. And that's what I think. And I know somebody said, well, there's a God of justice. You got to believe in a God of justice. I do believe in justice, but I think we create our own justice. You know, want to know what hell is? Hell is judgment when you die. When you die, you face your judgment. You will appear before God. I can tell you this. I've been there. And you're not judged by God. You judge yourself. You have to see all the good and bad you've done. You have to relive it, feel it, experience it. You want to know what hell is? I've been to hell. That's hell. When I saw the sins that I did, I didn't like the word sin. Sin is a little too intense. When I saw the errors that I made, errors in judgment, I realized how mistakes impacted the whole world. We don't understand that our own lives affect so many people. And I think realizing that changed my life. And I realized part of that I needed to serve humanity. And that's one of the things also got me on my spiritual path. But so, letting go of fear is a gradual process. So much of it has been indoctrinated for so long. And it comes down to making a choice. Do you choose to embrace a God that loves you? And can you consider that? That's why I have spiritual. I want people to consider that they're loved just as they are. You don't have to suddenly be a saint or be self-recriminating all day long and hate yourself. It doesn't get you anywhere. Love yourself and you'll love others. And if you love others, you're doing the will of God. Anyways, I could preach all day on that subject, but I hope that answers a little bit of that for you. Good question. All right. Nicola farts rainbows at the interviews. Hi, Nicola. She's all the way here from England today. Good to see you. Tell me about how did you deal with messages from your higher self? Well, the thing is, when I was in the spiritualist movement, I was taught there's nothing abnormal about connecting to your higher self, that we do it all the time. Most people just don't know it. So when I get messages from my higher self, it's just another form of channeling, as if I'm channeling spirit or channeling myself. Doesn't really matter because it all is helpful if you're an open channel. Anyways, I hope that answers that. Good question. Hold on a second. Let's see. Sorry, hold on a second. I lost my, here it is. Okay. Sherry Dries, thank you for your honest insight. Well, Sherry, thank you. Thank you for being here and being open to this. Because, I think, as I said, I'm about keeping it real. So I like to share the truth. Trulay says, is Fletcher the same entity that Ruth Montgomery channeled? Yes. Yes, Fletcher is. My spirit guide Fletcher was associated with Arthur Ford. And now he works with me. So yes. I have to tell you the whole story of Fletcher another time because I want to get in more questions. It's a long story, but yes, to answer your question. Christian Druid 1313 says, awesome, Bob. The middle path is the balance. Yes, it is. I agree. The Buddhist said that. I believe him. Charmala, how did you get started with Wicca? That's a really good question. I got started with Wicca because I had come to a point in my life where I wasn't finding help in the traditional church models. It's a long story, but I had been involved in different churches, and I was also involved in the spiritualist church. And I felt that, and no offense to the spiritualist church, the spiritualist church actually does empower people, but the one that I was in was dysfunctional at the time. And I felt dissatisfied. I thought, I was kind of given the view that, well, if life's tough, you just have to trust in spirit and just let it be. And I didn't believe that. I thought we have more power than that. And but I didn't know where to find it. But at the time I was working as a psychic and I had my own shop. I was at a little shopping mall, where I had a storefront psychic store that I started. And what was interesting is the one day this lady comes in for a reading and she loved the reading. And afterwards she said, you are the most amazing witch I've ever met. And I was like, what witch? I'm a psychic. I'm not a witch. Well, I didn't say that to her. I didn't want to be offensive or get hostile. I just said, okay. And I thought, that's weird. Why did she call me a witch? Because I thought witches were evil or like it wasn't good. So I wasn't interested in that. And then a few days later, another person come in for a reading. And they said, I heard that there's a really cool witch here. Are you that witch that's really cool and does readings? I thought, people started calling me a witch, and I couldn't figure this out. So I went to, Brentano's bookstore. Now, I'm not being endorsed. I think they're actually folded now, but there used to be a store called Brentano's Books in the mall. It was literally above my shop at the mall upstairs. And so I went up there and I started looking through, different things, and I found the section on witchcraft. And I picked up a book. And there's a saying, whenever you pick up a book, be very careful, because you never know how a book can change your life. Well, I picked up Scott Cunningham's book, Living Wicca. No, it's called Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary. Living Wicca came later, but Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary. And I started reading this book. I was standing in the store and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So guess what? I took that book, and when I was checking out, the girl said, oh, you're into Wicca? Are you a witch? And I was like, I said, I don't know. Everybody tells me I am. Maybe I am. So I bought that book. And that's been like it was in 1999, I think it was, that I bought that. So it's like over 20 years ago now. And I took it home, and that night I sat up a lot of the night reading that book. And I was like, I get this. And that's what started me on the path to Wicca. And eventually I left the spiritualist church. I was still actively going to the spiritualist church, but I left the spiritualist church because of a lot of politics, and they were anti-witchcraft, which is really ironic because a lot of what the spiritualists do, the Wiccans do too, but that's another story. I still am a spiritualist. You don't have to be part of the formal spiritualist church to be a spiritualist. I still believe in all the tenets of spiritualism, but I also believe in the tenets of Wicca because they don't clash. They actually support each other. So that's how I started. I hope that helps a little bit. All right. Yay. Oh my gosh. Let's see. We got a few more questions here. All right. Shannon Nicole, tell us about your very first trance channeling experience. Were you nervous? Shannon, I actually cover that in my book. Hold on a second. It's in my book, Messages from Rose. So I have a whole chapter on that. I'm not going to read all of it now, but you might want to get that book. That covers that. But basically, in the old days, I used to hold what was called home seance circles. I had a group in doing a seance, and I went into trance spontaneously. I didn't even know that could happen. And that's how Rose first came through. So you might want to get this book and read about that. That's in here, okay? Anyways, thank you for your question. I hope that gives us a little insight. That's a really long story, so I want to try to get as many as I can, but pretty cool stuff. Is at a home channeling circle. I used to do these home seances to help earthbound souls, and Rose was an earthbound soul that came through at one of my seance circles, and that's how I connected. So all the stories in the book. All right. Kim Osborne says, religion is always about hate. Kim, that's a really interesting thing, because I think that a lot of religions are about hate or control. And I heard a saying said one time, which I think is so true. And it said, religion is for people who are afraid of hell, and spirituality is for those who have already been there. And I think that's really true, So I'm a spiritual person. I'm not religious. Like, I don't go to church or do ritual every week on Sunday. I'm very free-spirited like that, but that's what I think. So a lot of religions do have hate element or control element. I'd agree. Okay. All right. Oops, hold on a second. Sherry Draz, can you talk to animals or pets who passed on? Yes. In fact, when I was first starting out as a psychic, one of the first messages I got when I was professionally working was from a horse. Somebody came, I'll never forget, I got to tell you this story. This lady comes in for a reading, right? And this is like one of my first days at actually working in the public as a psychic. This lady comes in my office, sits down, and I'm opening up and I'm waiting because I'm thinking, oh, her dad. I knew her dad had died. She told me, she said, I was hoping to connect with my dad. I said, well, if I can get him through. So I'm waiting for her father to come through. And all of a sudden I see a giant horse head, literally a giant horse, full life-size horse head come through the wall. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, what the? I'm like, I'm looking at my Fletcher, I'm like, this isn't right. So I had never channeled an animal. And I'm just saying, the lady saw my face because I guess I looked perplexed, and she says, "You're seeing something. Is my dad here?" And I said, not exactly. Not exactly. I didn't know what to say. I thought, how do I explain this? This guy's going to quit before I even start the reading. So I said, well, I just have to give what I'm getting. And I said, I'm not getting your dad, but I said, I am getting a beautiful horse. He's a brown horse, brown and white. I said, he kind of reminds me by his energy of Mr. Ed, the famous horse from TV. Well, he goes, starts crying. She says, oh my God, that's the other question I had. I wanted to come see if I could connect with my horse. Well, I had never, but her horse came through and told me everything. So yeah, and that's one of my first readings. Yeah, so there you go. Good question. David Jan, Bob, what is your best tip for increasing a beginner's mediumship ability? You know, that's a little hard to answer, David Jan. One of the things I hope to get going soon is a psychic development class. I'm working on the technology. Because of COVID-19, a lot of the tech companies that I need to interface with to make that happen are on hold and not taking clients or helping people set up. So that may be delayed a little longer. But the reason I said that's hard to quantify is that everybody accesses different spirit differently. And in psychic development, one of the things we do is we discover how each person accesses their connection. And it's not the same for everybody. But one of the things that really will help all people, no matter where you access your power, is to do daily meditation. And if you do, like you remember we've been talking about the blink meditation every Sunday, well, that helps you immensely. Kim Osborne is here. Kim, I know you don't mind me saying this, but Kim Osborne finds that incredibly helpful. It's made her more psychic. So, you know, that's one thing, you know. Short meditation. I tell people you don't have to spend 6 hours a day in meditation. 5 good minutes will get you an awful lot of good energy and focus and power. So anyways, I'll let you know about my classes as I get this worked out in the next few weeks. All right. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm over my time here. Cindy Fitzgerald says, do the spirits let you sleep? Yes, they actually do. It's the gang stalkers that don't. But that's a whole nother story. But the spirits don't bother me. No, they let me sleep. All right. Nicola Farts Rainbow says, I know when I've met... Nicola Farts Rainbows at the end. Excuse me. Let me say your day. I love that. I know when I've met someone, they are part of a soul group. I will have an instant something. Hold on. Just lost it. I will have an instant connection with them. Yes, that's actually true. A lot of times we will meet people, and connecting with people is another way to open your psychic gifts. And it's always interesting when you get a group of people that are interested in psychic development together. There always seems to be a lot of deja vus and feelings of knowing each other. And I do think soul groups connect in different ways, even outside of families, you know. Bob, what's your favorite symbol? Oh, that's a good one. Roses, quadruple zero. You know, Roses, I love the pentagram, the pentacle. I'm crazy about stars. I have literally, if you can see behind me here, I have pentagrams all over my wall. I got my big rose. I am crazy. I have to show you, that would be a whole video and stuff. Bring out all my stars I have throughout my house. I have a house, literally every room has multiple stars. That's my favorite star, the pentagram, or called the pentacle as well. Pentacle has a circle. Pentagram doesn't have a circle. It's this 5-pointed star. It's the same either way. All right. Master class, please. You know, I don't know how you get those master classes going on YouTube, but if I can't do one of those, I definitely do my own master class. So yeah, I want to get that going. David Jan asked, do you astral project? Yes, I do sometimes astral project. One time I actually was astral projecting and I woke up early and I wasn't in my body. I was literally stuck in the ceiling above my bed, which is a freaky experience. So yeah, it does happen. Anyways. All right. Oh, bless her. Kim Osborne says, Bob, you're number one. You're the real deal. Blessings to you. I am the real deal. Vivian Clark says, have you considered growing an indoor garden of sorts? I feel plants are so healing. You know, Viv, I've thought about, I have lighting challenges here. I may have to get special lamps to do that. I face the west and I get a lot of evening sun, which is really hot. And when I give you all a tour of my apartment when it's ready, I have behind me, you can't see it, but this is an entire wall of glass, almost floor to ceiling, that goes the length of my condo. So I get either extreme light or not enough light. So plants have a hard time in this environment. But I do like the thought. I may explore that. Okay. Yay. All right. Robert Makuta Jr. says, when is your next painting coming? My next painting will be hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then on Sunday. Sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday. I'm a little behind this week because I've had a lot going on. But speaking of painting, so I give a plug for, you can still get this, my latest painting, which is called Alternate Reality 2, at my website at PsychicBob.com. So go get it. You can also visit my merch store where I have t-shirts. That painting is also on my t-shirts as well, at my merch store. So there you go. Now, if you don't see or for whatever reason can't find my merch store here at YouTube, you can also go to my website, PsychicBob.com, and it has a link to it there. So either way now, we just updated so you can go to either at both locations. But there's another one of my paintings, assuming you love Blue Reality. It's available in t-shirt, as well as this one, Alternate Reality 2, is in t-shirt form. And I always say, if you want to learn about my paintings, go to my store. You don't have to buy anything to go in. Just go read about them. You'll learn a lot, okay? Thank you so much. Cool Games for You says, do you like to drink sweet tea? My gosh, where you been, Cool Games? I'm always drinking sweet tea. Yes, I do. I'm crazier than anything about it. I'm a Southern boy at heart. I really am, So, thank you so much for your question. Yes, crazy about sweet tea. All right. Violin Viola Masterclass says, how do you decompress after your busy reading schedule? That's a great question because that's a really important part of being psychic. And, everybody has different ways, but I try to literally go out walking. I find touching the earth just brings me back. I love to go shopping. Nowadays with CV, I can't go anywhere, but I do online shopping, which is kind of another form of fun. I love to Netflix. I'm a big Netflix and chill, and I love to watch old TV shows like Star Trek and Star Trek Next Generation and, movies. I love all that. I really think that, if I didn't have more self-control, I honestly think I could work like 24 hours a day because there's always something to do. When you run a business like I do, like what people don't realize that there's a business aspect to being a psychic. It's not just readings. I have to coordinate scheduling, like clients for readings when my assistant's not here. I have to talk to media people who interview me. I have, to go out and do appearances at different places. Sometimes people hire me to come to a club opening or do, readings on a TV or radio show. So honestly, I have enough stuff going. I could work 24 hours a day, but I make it a point to cut off. Like generally the last reading of the night I do is 9 p.m. Generally, I prefer to quit at 8 and be done by 9, but sometimes I go to 10. And I try not to do readings 24 hours a day because in the early days of working, I did. People call me at 3 in the morning. I'd get up and do a reading. I don't do that anymore. So, anyways, yeah. But I try to just have fun every day, go shopping, and I decompress by not taking everything seriously. You got to laugh at yourself, look back at your day, think what was fun, have fun with that, And I do painting. Painting is one of my big ways to decompress. When I get into my art space, it's so relaxing to me. As me, I'm a member. I was accepted as a member of the Alexandria Art League, which is a very prestigious organization. I was received as a full exhibiting artist member. Right now, that's all on hold too, but hopefully in the summer, we'll be able to take you back there and show you more about that. Kim Lackey, when is your brother going to be on your show again? Well, I'm working on that. My brother's been through an awful lot. So he's been doing a lot of healing. And if you guys want to pray for him, he had fractured ribs. And he also had some blood clots from the fractured ribs recently. I haven't told you guys about it because I don't want to upset you, but he's on the mend now. He's fine, but he went through it for the last few weeks. He's doing better. So hopefully we'll get him on when he's fully 110% back. Okay. Violin Viola Masterclass. Not taking everything too seriously. I need to work on that. Yeah, me too. Okay. Nicola says, Bob, did you ever try cannabis to enhance your visions? No, I don't believe in drugs. I'm really strict about that. And I'm not knocking anybody who likes marijuana. I mean, to each their own. I just don't like drugs. They make me feel like they lessen my ability. So no. So no. People ask me, well, will it help you? And honestly, the truth is alcohol and drugs in the short term will open you probably more, but long term they weaken you. So I wouldn't recommend it. You don't need it. If you're doing daily meditation, you're going to get a lot more power than you'll get from any drug. Melissa Slate says, your readings are amazing. I recommend one for everyone. Thank you, and we love you. God bless you, Melissa. Thank you so much. So many of you have taken the time to invest in my work and to help me to be here at YouTube and to do this work full time, because it's a full-time job. Like my mother, when I was first starting out, she couldn't fathom how you would work as a psychic. She said, how do you make any money? How do you work? I said, well, you don't understand. I said, I have a lot of calls come in because since I started getting media exposure, I said, I've become known all over the world. So I always had the phone ringing. And I said, then I have so many other things. People want to hire me for events. I go and go and go. So, it's an interesting life, and it's to be Psychic Bob is a full-time work. Anyways, Stranger Things 77 says, Bob, have you tried mantras? Oh, absolutely. I'm a big believer in mantras. I use them all the time. I love Lord Ganesh. I chant his mantra a lot, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Yeah, oh yeah. Mantras are powerful. They're healing, they're nurturing, they're uplifting. They open psychic centers. Yeah, I do. Sherry Dress says, I was watching when you created Green Frenzy. Oh my gosh, you remember that? I just wore my Green Frenzy shirt yesterday. It's in the laundry today, but I love Green Frenzy. Mina Laurie says, Bob, besides Louis Vuitton, do you like Chanel? I'm in a big hunt for a vintage Chanel flat bag, but boy, are they expensive. $4,000 and up. I have to tell you, I'm not, no offense, Chanel is beautiful. I think as far as the aesthetics, I think it's beautiful. I just don't feel like it's my style, so that's why I don't carry it. But I think it's beautiful. I don't like, a lot of their stuff is flap. I don't like flaps because they annoy me. They get in the way. I like a simple open top bag, zipper, top, what do they call it? Top loading bag. That's just me. So I don't find a lot of that in Chanel. If you can find a Chanel bag that is similar in shape to my Louis Vuitton bag, see, I like the shape of the Louis Vuitton bag, and that works for me. Nicola is chanting Om right now. Om. But anyways, yes, Chanel's expensive. Even used or vintage, it's expensive. But it's beautiful stuff. So I don't hate it. It's just not the style I carry. That's all. I carry mostly Louis Vuitton and Gucci, and they're rivals. And I flip back and forth between which one I like better. But I think I'm liking Louis Vuitton, more just because Louis Vuitton's been more consistent over the years in their style and their pattern. Gucci has some beautiful stuff, but Gucci changes up a lot. So you might see a Gucci bag and then a year later they don't make it anymore. Whereas Louis Vuitton kind of keeps a standard stuff going, you know. Kim Osborne writes, I'm saving money to do a 1-hour reading for my son Ken, also known as RJ, for his birthday. He is so gifted and he don't realize how gifted he is. Oh, you're so sweet, Kim. I'll be honored to read for you whenever you feel you're ready for that. Moonfae question says, who are your favorite artists? Oh gosh, I love Picasso. I'm crazy about Picasso. I love Jean-Michel Basquiat. Wonderful artist. I love Basquiat. I love Picasso. I love Andy Warhol. I love a lot of the modern artists. I love Monet. I don't know if Monet's classical or modern. The Impressionists, I think at the time were considered modern, but by today's standard, maybe classical. I love Claude Monet. So yeah, they're some of my favorite artists. Okay. Oh my gosh. Mina Laurie says, yes, Louis Vuitton lasts forever. It does, doesn't it? Mina Laurie says, I love Monet. So, hold on a second. All right, Nicola says, Louis first, second Gucci. I swap them over all the time, but they're in dust covers. The lockdown is, till the lockdown is over. Okay, yeah, you're keeping your bags safe. Good for you. Violin Viola says, do you think we will ever have pagan churches? A place where people that are Wicca or pagan can celebrate the Sabbaths. There are a few actually already around. They're just not common. And I don't know if we'll ever have mainstream like churches, like the traditional churches, at least in large numbers, because I think that in Wicca and paganism, it's much more free spirited. I don't think a lot of people like the traditional structure. That being said, you know, I've always said I want to start a Wiccan temple as a place of gathering. And I think there will be an expanse of that. I don't think it will ever be as large as mainstream Christian denominations are, though. No. Sue Valenta, would you consider doing a video about Santa Muerte? Actually, I have thought about it. I should do that because I love Santa Muerte. So that's a good question. I'll work on that. Let me explore that, and we'll put something together soon. Yeah. Anyways, guys, I just realized what time it is, and I got to get off of here because I've got stuff to do and readings later. So I want to tell you thank you. I hope this has given you a little insight today. I've so enjoyed being here with you. Listen, help me out, please. So after this video processes, will you please go back, thumbs up, favorite, like it, share with your friends. And if you haven't done so, make sure to hit subscribe, be part of our channel here, because I love you guys. Anyways, Psychic Bob has a very busy day, so I'm going to have to get off of here. But I love it. You guys are rock. Do you like this? Do you want to do this again sometime in the future? Because I know there's a lot more I could have covered, but I tried to get in what I could today. So if you want to do this again in the future, just put a comment in this comment section below this video when it processes and say, yeah, we want to do this again. So anyways, you guys are best. Thank you so very much. I love you guys too. Thank you for all your blessings and your kind words. All right, listen, be back here tomorrow, Saturday. What's tomorrow? Saturday seance. I got to check my schedule. I don't know when we're going to have it out, but we'll have something out for you. So just be here. You guys rest. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for your support. If you want to get on my schedule for a private reading, please call me, 703-825-3929. My number is below on the screen and also in the info box below this video. Love you all. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Till then, may all of you always blessed be.